spent a good bit of the past 2 years traveling back and forth to Washington, meeting with various congressmen, senators, and other interested parties inside the Beltway. And I got to say, of all the men and women that I've been up there and worked with, there are, I was going to say few, but there's really none that can hold a candle to my Congressman Walter Jones. He is a real trooper for North Carolina, for veterans, and for our children and grandchildren's future. If we don't put North Carolina first, we won't have a North Carolina. I'd like to welcome Congressman Jones.
Jeff, thank you very much, and I want to say to you in fire that there are only just a few groups that really, I think, care about our children's future. From the standpoint of talking about sovereignty of America, talking about freedom of America, I'm not talking about the health issues, because there are many that want to help children, so please understand that statement. I share the concern and the frustration and the disappointment of FAIR and many other groups who believe that America is selling itself out in many, many ways. This book, excuse me, obviously this is a book taken, but there's a book by Pat Buchanan called Day of Reckoning. Excuse me. These are his words, not mine. How hubris, ideology, and greed are tearing America apart. If I could buy this book for everyone I meet for 6 months, I'm talking about thousands of books, I'd hand them out, because nothing tells the story of where America was, where America is, and where America is going. The second book, and then I'm going to stop talking about books. Thank you, Judge, for what you shared with us. That was most informative and very helpful to me personally. The second book, I'm reading it now. I don't have the book taken, I'm reading it. It's called A Nation of Sheep. It's by Judge Andrew Napolitano. You know him on Fox. It is about the challenge to our civil liberties. How too many times people try to scare us into believing that they, the federal government, can do the job for us if they take away our civil liberties. I'm not going to speak on that today. I've got 10 minutes. I just want to talk about some of my thoughts about the fact that this nation is not and has not treated American people right by enforcing the immigration laws of America. A couple of points from Day of Reckoning that I thought I should share with you. These are Pat Buchanan's words. The real threat to liberty and sovereignty of the United States comes from another quarter, Washington, D.C. As Pogo said, we have met the enemy, and he is us. How profound is that? When we have a nation that the leadership of the nation is allowing Mexican trucks to come across the border, trucking companies, excuse me, which are Mexican trucks. And this says, Truckers Without Borders, the coming North American Union. If I had spoken to you 10 years ago, I doubt, first of all, if you would have asked me to be here. Secondly, I was not as knowledgeable of what is happening to this great nation. I made this statement recently. You know, it's amazing that Obama's got so much excitement about him. It's amazing that Ron Paul's got so much excitement about him. The reason for it is that people have lost faith. They are seeing 16,000 coming across the border every day. And yet we can't even build a 700-mile fence. I put a bill in. I've got a lot of support. I pretty much took the idea of Peter King. He gave me permission. He's on the bill. To say that we need to build a 700-mile fence, and we need to fund the building of the fence and use American workers. to build a fence. I think about here we are today, American Legion, thank you for your service to this nation. You fought for freedom. You fought to protect the dreams of America. And yet, as I stand beside you today, there are two board agents sitting in federal prison. Mr. Capian and Mr. Ramos, Hispanic Americans, did one thing, tried to protect this country from an illegal alien drug smuggler. The federal government gave the illegal alien drug smuggler immunity to testify against the border agents. We have beat the drum so loud, and we will continue to beat it. I do not understand how the president can commute Scooter Libby, who, like many on this panel, are lawyers and should know the law and try to uphold and respect the law. But he served not one day, and yet the two Hispanic Americans who shot a drug smuggler, illegal drug smuggler, they're sitting in federal prison. There are things that are happening to this country that if we don't speak out and we don't activate those who feel the way we do, then I'm not sure that either party really will enforce the laws of this land. It's groups like FIRE and other groups who believe in protecting the sovereignty of America. You have to continue to hold these seminars. You have to continue to speak out. You have to continue to support those who share your values, if not 100%, 90%, 80%. But I will tell you that America is in trouble. I know this is going to be spoken about in more detail tonight. But recently, I called the U.S. Treasury, set up a telephone call, Greg, driving home to North Carolina a couple weeks ago. Spoke to a Mr. Bartling, B-A-R-T-L-I-N-G, very nice man. I said, Mr. Bartling, I think the debt with China, and of course now Hong Kong is part of China, is about $350,000, and he corrected me in a very nice way. It does, sir, it's about $440 billion. I meant so big in my comment. I said, I'd like to know how we borrow money from foreign governments, because we're borrowing it every day. The debt's going up at $1.61 billion a day. That's not even factoring in Iraq and Afghanistan. He said, well, we sell treasury notes to countries, bonds. And he said most of our debt with China is in the form of treasury notes. So I said, well, Mr. Bartling, let me ask you a question. I mean, I'm not a very smart man, but I've got a fairly good mind. If China owes $440 billion of our debt in treasury notes, and they come to a decision that, well, you know, I think we're not going to wait a 10-year period before we cash it in. We're just going to cash them in about 4 years. Where in the world do we get $440 billion with our dollar dropping as far as value? And where are we going to borrow the money to pay them back? He said, well, Congressman, I don't think that would happen. And I would hope that it doesn't happen. See my friend Greg Daugherty, back there smiling, knows exactly what I'm going to say. He said, but if it did, we'd have a very serious economic situation. These are the reasons I came today. One other point about debt.